A young boy named Akuto was found drowning in a storm. Despite the heavy rain, the sailor found it impossible to rescue him as he had gone overboard. Their only option was to throw him a swim ring to prevent him from drowning before they left. Akuto eventually washed ashore on a mysterious island called Arantu. There, a lady named Suzu rescued him while fishing. Suzu had cast her hook into the water, hoping to catch a large fish, but instead, she pulled Akuto out. She attempted to resuscitate him using CPR, a skill she had learned. Suzu brought Akuto to her grandmother, and news of the foreigner's arrival quickly spread, attracting a crowd of curious girls. Suzu's grandmother scolded them and sent them away, though she didn't blame them, acknowledging that it was the first time a foreigner had come to their city. Suzu notices a physical difference in Akuto and wonders why he is different from them. Suzu's grandma explains that Akuto is different because he is a guy. This causes a commotion among the girls, who gather to see Akuto. Suzu's grandma reprimands them, and they disperse. Suzu realizes that Akuto is male. Later, Akuto wakes up and remembers how Suzu saved him with mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. He tries to avoid her but eventually accepts lunch from her. Akuto apologizes for the trouble he caused Suzu when they introduce themselves to each other. Akuto believed he had been washed ashore to a nearby place, still thinking he was in Japan. Suzu's grandmother explained that the people living there are also originally from Japan, but they were still determining the island's location because they had been shipwrecked there over 130 years ago. They had been on their way to Europe to learn about new technology and medicine when a storm hit, leading them to the island. They named it Arantu after their sunken ship and have lived there ever since. After hearing this, Akuto wondered how he could return to Japan, but Suzu's grandmother advised him to rest at Suzu's house first and not worry about the future for now. Suzu and Akuto headed to Suzu's house, where she introduced him to her pet tonkatsu. Suzu promised to prepare a delicious dinner for Akuto once they got home. However, on their way back, they were attacked by Anne. Anne tried to interrupt their conversation and warned Akuto not to go to Suzu's house, describing it as a bad and uncomfortable place for him to be. Suzu, angered by Anne's interference, insisted that Anne was lying and threw several stones at her, causing Anne to be injured. Despite the altercation, Suzu urged Akuto not to worry about Anne's injury and they continued their journey. Unbeknownst to them, Anne had orchestrated the attack to take advantage of Suzu, as she had always been her opponent. As they moved on, Anne struck Akuto from behind with a stone, causing him to lose consciousness. Suzu led Akuto home to treat him, expressing concern about his well-being, but Akuto still felt numb. She offered him an antidote to drink. Curious about Suzu's family, as he hadn't seen them at home, Akuto asked about them. Suzu revealed she didn't have parents, which made Akuto feel regretful for asking. He lay down on the bed, but when Suzu returned, she discovered that Akuto was missing, and Anne had taken him away. Anne pulled Akuto to the ground as she tried to drag him away, but she fell off when a woman trapped Anne with a rope. This woman knew it was risky to be with Anne, as she tended to act impulsively without considering the consequences. Introducing herself as Rin the carpenter, she invited Akuto to her house and even suggested that he could be her husband, which struck Akuto as odd. Suddenly, another girl emerged from the bushes, asking Akuto if he was the child who had washed up on their island. Akuto, mistaking her for a child, referred to her in kind, which angered her. She scolded Akuto for calling her a child, feeling humiliated, and demanded that he make it up to her by taking her on a date. Rin became furious upon hearing this, and a heated argument broke out between her and the girl over Akuto. Akuto, sensing the tension, escaped from them, realizing he needed to leave the island as soon as possible. As he journeyed, he encountered several other girls on the road who began to chase after him. Finally, Suzu came to his rescue. He couldn't understand why everyone was chasing him. Suddenly, Suzu's grandma appeared and revealed that he was the only man on the island. Perplexed, he wondered how he could be the sole male among so many women on the island. Determined to leave and return home, he boarded a boat and set out onto the sea. However, he found himself unable to move forward as he was surrounded by whirlpools that made progress impossible. Despite trying several times, he was unsuccessful. Recalling his grandfather's motto of never giving up, he felt disheartened as he ultimately gave up, unable to leave the island after numerous attempts. Suzu recounted the tale of the men's large fish catching tournament, an annual event on the island, which took place 12 years ago. During the tournament, a massive tsunami, a once-in-a-century event, unexpectedly struck, engulfing the men and pushing them far from the island. Aiken inquired if this calamity explained the absence of men on the island. Although Suzu had learned the story from her grandmother, Ikutin pondered if, should such an event occur again, he might consider leaving the island. However, since the tsunami only occurs every 100 years, if at all, and even then, Akuto would have to wait another 107 years. Aiken mused about whether he would have grown old by then. Suzu, recognizing Akito's exhaustion from the eventful day, advised him to get some rest. While sleeping, Ikuten wondered about his future now that he had finally escaped from his father's control, and commended him for his strength in breaking free, and encouraged him to embrace his newfound freedom and pursue his desires. Suddenly, Suzu heard a noise and rushed to her room to investigate. It was Anne, who had arrived unexpectedly. Anne felt sorry for Ikuten, knowing he had spent his first night on errand 2 in a cramped, dirty place. Ikuten struggled on the floor where he was tied down, urging Suzu to put on her clothes. A confrontation ensued between Anne and Suzu, during which blood rushed down Ikuten's nose from his position on the ground. Suzu, enraged, threw a dummy at Anne, causing her to fall out of Suzu's house through the window. Quickly, Suzu checked on Ikuten to ensure he was alright, though he continued to insist that she put on her clothes. Suzu then noticed someone peeping through the ceiling. In response, she threw a pillow at the peeper, causing them to fall to the ground. Suddenly, all the women on the island emerged, calling out Akito's name. Suzu was puzzled by their behavior, prompting her grandmother to explain that the women's instincts had awoken after lying dormant for 12 years. To address this, Suzu's grandmother devised a competition called the hide-and-seek tournament to capture the groom. The next morning, as the competition was set to begin, Akito pondered his impending marriage at such a young age. He expressed his frustration to Suzu's grandmother, vehemently rejecting the idea of marrying in the manner she had proposed. Suzu's grandmother, taken aback by his defiance, concluded that he was a very stubborn individual. Suzu's grandmother announced a hide-and-seek tournament to catch the groom. The rules were that the game was limited to the island's western area. The time limit was until sunset, and the girl who touched the groom would win. Akito, reluctantly participating, believed in his speed but was surprised when the girls started running faster than him. Suzu, trailing behind, threw Tonkusta at the girls, causing them to fall. While the competition continued, some girls mistook a hairy dummy for Akito, only to find it was Anne. Disappointed, they left her alone as she imagined being with Akito. The competition pressed on, and the girls persisted in their search for Akito. Rin, determined to find him, chased after him, her mind swirling with thoughts of becoming his bride. She believed that by marrying him, she could escape the relentless pursuit of the other girls and win the tournament. Meanwhile, Akito sensed a presence around him but couldn't see anyone, dismissing it as his imagination. Suddenly, a girl appeared, promising to take him to a safe place and assuring him she wasn't interested in marriage, putting him at ease. Unbeknownst to him, her true intention was to trap him. However, her plan backfired as she fell into her trap. The commotion alerted all the girls on the island, who descended upon Akito, chasing him relentlessly. Suzu intervened, rescuing Akito and diverting the other girls' attention away from him. Akito suddenly emerged at the river's edge, struggling to cross its swift current. As he attempted to move away from the river, he unexpectedly encountered another girl named Machai. She extended her hand to help Akito out, but he hesitated, recalling the third rule, and declined to hold her hand. Instead, he ventured into the river. Suzu attempted to intervene, but another girl suddenly swooped in, lifting Akito into the air. He fought to break free and eventually landed in the Easter forest, teeming with carnivorous plants. The plants attacked Akito, and Suzu hurried to his rescue. Almost reaching out to Suzu, Akito remembered that the hide-and-seek game was still ongoing, with Suzu participating. He suspected Suzu might have ulterior motives, possibly wanting to make him her husband. Therefore, he resisted touching her, and a large animal in the forest tossed him aside. The girls continued to search for him, relentlessly chasing after him. Finally, as the sun set and the hide-and-seek tournament came to a close, Suzu's grandmother scolded him for losing the game. Despite this, she declared Suzu the winner. Akito, puzzled by Suzu's reaction when he touched her, was reminded by Suzu's grandmother of his action.
Akito did not accept this accusation, and Suzu also defended him.
She told her grandmother not to force marriage on Akito and insisted that he should be allowed to choose for himself. Suzu's grandmother acquiesced, but she reminded Akito that he could not escape from the island in a lifetime. She realized that her plan had not resolved anything, as the girls were still chasing after Akito. Akito washed his face in the river, and Suzu kindly brought him a towel, reminding him that his breakfast was getting cold. She showed care and concern, making Akito feel like a newlywed couple, but he quickly corrected himself, recognizing that he was just a freeloader, not a groom. Imagining himself as a groom felt wrong, so he decided to focus on getting used to life on the island. Suzu admired a box that Akito had, not realizing it was a cell phone. Akito was surprised that she didn't know what it was and explained that it was used to contact people far away. He realized, however, that the cell phone would not work on the island. Suzu asked if he could talk to anyone he wanted to directly, and they both enjoyed their breakfast together. Akito, residing on the island, had previously been able to skip breakfast without issue. However, he now found himself questioning how he could consume more food. Suzu enlightened him, explaining that breakfast was crucial for sustaining energy levels. As Suzu left to fetch water, Akuto, recalling his grandfather's wisdom about repaying kindness, resolved to assist her. This led him to ponder the absence of modern conveniences such as electricity, gas, and running water on the island, as well as how the girls managed the demanding manual labor. To his surprise, Akuto encountered Rin carrying a massive bucket.
She revealed her family's method for managing such tasks.
Despite her petite appearance, Rin was the strongest individual on the island. Witnessing her strength inspired Akuto to swiftly carry his water and return home. Unfortunately, Akuto accidentally spilled his water while passing by the house. Rin offered to share her water with him and expressed admiration for Akuto. Rin's sister, Makoto, appeared and was happy to see Rin, but Rin asked her not to come too close to avoid spilling her water. They both left, and Makoto warned Akuto to stay away from Rin. Later, Suzu was washing her leg in the river when Akuto joined her. He accidentally slipped into the river but managed to assist Suzu with various chores. Suzu offered him water, which he found to be exceptionally tasty.
When it was time to go to work, Suzu explained that the real work was about to begin after finishing the house chores.
She encouraged Akuto, and they went to a farmland. At the farmland, Suzu explained that her job was to help busy people, and they were asked to help dig up sweet potatoes. Akuto struggled at first but was determined to succeed, stating that nothing was impossible. Akuto continued digging the potatoes, but unfortunately, he struggled with it. Suzu offered to help, and together they managed to dig out the potatoes. Akuto was surprised by their size and wondered how potatoes could grow so big. He noticed other girls carrying their crops and realized why the girls in the highlands were so strong. As they worked, some other girls called for Suzu's help, leaving Akuto and Suzu to work alone. They encountered a sheep, which was a new experience for Akuto, although he had seen other kinds of sheep before. This one seemed strange to him, making him feel that the animals on the island were a little odd. Suzu and Akuto proceeded to trim the sheep. Suzu warned Akuto to be careful, but he accidentally cut the sheep's skin, causing the sheep to attack him. Suzu and Akuto spent the day fishing, with Akuto managing to catch a particularly large fish. Afterward, they decided to try their hand at milking a cow, a first for Akuto. As they headed home, Akuto remarked that his day felt more exhausting than a game of tag. Along the way, they ran into Yukino and Chikage, and the group made their way home together. Before reaching home, Suzu reminded Akuto about picking mushrooms, emphasizing that they needed to do it today before the mushrooms grew too large to harvest. When they arrived at the mushroom patch, everyone else found it easy to pick mushrooms except for Akuto, who struggled. Despite Suzu's warning, Akuto insisted on trying to pick his mushroom. Suddenly, the mushroom engulfed him, and rescuing him became challenging. Chikage urged Suzu to act swiftly because the mushroom was toxic. However, to their surprise, the mushroom eventually regurgitated Akuto. Chikage realized it was a counterfeit mushroom, as genuine ones perish after attacking humans. Following being expelled, Akuto lost consciousness. Despite numerous attempts, he struggled to differentiate between fake and genuine mushrooms. Feeling inept, he regretted leaving home in defiance of his father. He couldn't help but compare his perceived weakness to Suzu and the other girl's strength. Akuto was startled when he heard Rin's voice behind him. She apologized for shocking him, explaining she had been searching for timber and dropped it easily due to her strength. Akuto wasn't surprised, knowing she was the strongest on the island. Feeling down and unable to do anything, he hated himself. Rin recalled her mother's advice about not being able to easily win a man when he's depressed, and she decided to seize her chance with Akuto. She asked him to be her husband, and he responded by touching her breast. Yukino caught them, and Suzu and Chikage arrived. Suzu questioned why Akuto was bleeding from his nose. Yukino chased Rin away with an earthworm, and Rin ran to Akuto, who helped her by attacking the earthworm. On their way home, Suzu praised Akuto for easily attacking the earthworm. He admitted he was afraid at first and praised Suzu for her strength, feeling he underestimated himself for not being as strong as she was. Suzu was happy to have Akuto as a companion after work, as she used to be alone but now felt like she had a family. Being able to eat, chat, and sleep together with Akuto, Anne sat alone. Wondering why she was the only one who had to sweep the huge garden, she thought of sweeping quickly and going to Akuto. She was already eating when she saw a note Anne dropped telling her not to eat without her permission, but unfortunately, she already ate. Uzu and Akuto headed up to the Sea Dragon Shrine. It was so high that Akuto looked at how far they had gone. Suzu asked him if he was right, and she then decided to go deliver the radish to Chizuru herself so that Ichigo could rest for a while. While Akuto was resting when Machai suddenly fell on his legs, she asked Akuto if he has come to see her sister. Unfortunately, her sister was not around and she was also searching for her. Akito didn't know Machai was Anne's sister. Suzu asked if her mom Chizuru was around. Machai told Suzu that Chizuru was in the kitchen preparing mame daifuku. Machai offered to give Suzu mame daifuku only if she could help her look for Anne with whatever it takes. Machai promised to give Suzu 20 specially made of her mom's mame daifuku. Immediately, Suzu accepted to do anything to help her find Anne. Suzu began searching for Anne, while Akito questioned the wisdom of accepting the task, doubting they could easily find her. Suzu pressed on and climbed a hill, calling out for Anne. Hearing the taunt flat-chested, Anne emerged from her hiding spot, demanding to know why she was being called that. Akito was surprised by Anne's sudden appearance. Anne, upon seeing Akito, approached him, intending to seduce him. Suzu urged Anne to enter a sack for capture, but Anne refused, aware that Machai had sent Suzu to find her. Suzu tempted Anne with the promise of mame daifuku, a treat Machai had promised her for capturing it. As Suzu moved to capture her, Anne called for her bird, Manjuru, who swiftly came to her aid, carrying her and Akito away to safety. Akito was surprised by Suzu's ability to do things, which stemmed from her love for mame daifuku. Anne, aware of Suzu's weakness, offered her more mame daifuku in exchange for Machai's weakness. Suzu agreed and went to Machai, while Akito doubted Suzu's easily being bribed. Anne, unable to discover Machai's weakness, learned from Rin that Machai feared a giant bullfrog. Anne tried to use the bullfrog to extract information but failed. Suzu later revealed that Machai's weakness was a pierced heart, overheard by Machai. Anne was shocked, but Suzu had brought Machai to reconcile. Suzu received her mame daifuku from Machai, as promised. Suzu and Akito were on their way back home when Suzu accidentally stepped on the ground and fell. Akito hurried to her side to check if she was okay, but Suzu ended up landing on her butt. Ironically, she had been the one cautioning Akito to be careful moments before. To make matters worse, Suzu had broken the statue of Unchizo. She was afraid of being cursed because she knew the statue was not ordinary. Legend had it that 100 years ago, an evil spirit had wreaked havoc until a priestess sealed it within the statue. Akito, however, felt he could fix it. He quickly reassembled the statue to its original state, and they both left. When they arrived home and sat down to eat, Suzu asked Akito if he wasn't afraid of supernatural beings like ghosts and spirits. She was still shaken from the incident on their way back. Suddenly, the spirit appears to Suzu while Akito goes to fetch water. Rin and the other girls discover that Suzu broke the statue of Unchizo. Akito recounts Suzu's distressing screams and how she nearly choked him in her fear. Despite offers of accommodation from the girls, Akito declines, determined to help Suzu. Anne, wanting Akito to sleep with her, plans to scare Suzu with a fake idol but changes her mind after overhearing Suzu's conversation with Akito about her mother. However, Anne is startled by a bird, leading Akito to investigate and find her. When Akito hears Suzu's voice again, he rushes to find her possessed by the evil spirit. He attacks and defeats the spirit, ultimately saving Suzu. Yuniko went looking for Kuma Kuma and she found him in the store where the grape jam was kept. Minku was angry to see that Kuma Kuma had eaten up all the grape jam. She knew it was not easy to get another one. She wondered when Kuma Kuma became like Suz, who goes crazy whenever she heard someone mention Mama Daifuku. Suzu and Akito went fishing in the river and she caught a big fish. Suzu loved kabayaki as well as she loved mame daifuku. Akito wondered how many days he had been on the island. Wondered how worried his parent would have been worried about him. Akito knew he would be leaving on the island for the rest of his life. Suddenly, he heard a sound from above. It was Yukino, who jumped from the top and landed on Akito's head inside the river. Suzu quickly ran to check if Akito was alright and she found that it was Yuniku who fell on him. Suzu carried Akito from the water and wanted to help him with a CPR immediately. Akito stooped up. Suzu was relieved that he could regain his consciousness. Yuniku was also lying down unconscious by the riverside. Suzu saw everyone around her and she felt they came around because of her. Yuniku also regained her consciousness and everyone was happy. They all came together. Yuikun got so absorbed in picking grapes that she accidentally tripped. She apologized for making everyone worried about her. And Akito felt she had no reason to fall on his head. Suzu told Akito how everyone treats her like a sister. Yuikun accepted that she feels she was like an elder sister to everyone. Yuikun pleaded with Akito to help her find Kamu Kamu. Akito agreed and they all went in search of Kamu Kamu together. While Akito was walking in the bush, he stepped into a pothole and fell. Akito noticed it was a footprint, which happened to be that of Kama Kama, Akito, and Yuniku traced the footprints and continued to search for her. Akito and Yukino found Kuma Kuma quicker than expected. They moved close to her and Yuniko realized it was not Kuma Kuma. She told Akito that she was the same age with Kuma Kuma and that she was different from the old geezer. Akito saw that it still looks like Kuma Kuma. Suddenly, she hit them and they both fell to the ground. Akito was scared and he started running away. He got angry because Akito kept glaring at him. They continued to look for Kuma Kuma apparently. The old bear made the footprints they saw initially. While they were going, Akuto saw another bear in the river. He asked Yuniko if that was Kumo Kumo. Yuniko told Akuto it was not her Kuma Kuma, it was a male bear of the same age as Machai. Ikuo saw another bear and asked if it was Kumo Kumo. Yuniko told him Kuma Kuma was more round and a cute type rather than the beautiful type. They saw another bear which seems to be a girl at the first glance, but if looked carefully, he is a pretty boy with female features. They saw another bear in a group. Ikitown asked if Kuma Kuma was there. Judging from age, appearance, and physique, the geezers were different from Kuma Kuma. Akuto was tired so he decided to rest under a tree. Akuto didn't expect to see so many bears. Kuma Kuma was nowhere to be found. Bears with her chest scar shaped like a crescent moon are very rare to find. It can't be identified if you don't get to know them. Akuto asked Yukino to have told him earlier that there was an obvious feature to identify Kuma Kuma. Yukino was tired and she rested for a while. Akuto wondered if he has not being dragged into another weird situation. He asked himself why the island girls are so self-centered. Yukino offered Akuto a fruit and they both ate together. Yukino told Akuto why she could not find Kuma Kuma. It was because Yukino scolded Kuma Kuma for eating all of the grape jam in the storeroom. Yukino asked if Kuma Kuma was her best friend. Yukino remembered the memories she shared with Kuma Kuma. Suzu on her own end with other guys too continued to search for Kuma Kuma. While she was going, she sensed an unknown, evil, murderous presence and she threw a ball to the sky. All of a sudden, Anne appeared to her. She told Suzy it's been 100 years they met. Suzu told her they see each other every day. You can imagine the sarcasm. Anne got angry at Suzu for the word an unknown evil, murderous presence. Well, she took that as a compliment anyway. Suzu felt Anne was a type that thinks so positively for being stupid, and told others not to interfere in the matter because it was a one-on-one match between Anne and Suzu. Suzu decided to accept her challenge later because she was busy at the moment searching for Kuma Kuma. Anne wondered what it is, but she didn't accept Suzu's excuse, so she decided to attack Anne. While she was jumping around, one of the guys who followed Suzu flapped his wings and hit Anne. She suddenly hit her head on the tree and she fell. Suzu told her there was so many flaws in her movement and they all left her. Suzu was amazed to know that Yukino had so many guys protecting her. Well, she admitted that she had Tonkatsu who was also protecting her, and they continued to search for Kuma Kuma. Akuto and Yukino continued to search for Kuma Kuma after so much trial and search. Akuto and Yuniko eventually found Kuma Kuma and they were all happy. Akuto felt he would be a useless man if he kept bothering Suzu's other girls. So he started training in kendo, which his grandpa taught him. He realized men should protect women. Suzu pondered on what he said. Akuto asked if he had said anything bad. Suzu felt there was no men on the island, therefore it was hard for her to understand what Akuto was talking about. Suzu doesn't know about men, she never depend on them, so she doesn't know what it is like. Akuto tried to show his manly side if Suzu was in a bind, so she could understand the meaning of his words. What a strong decision. He saw that Suzu was backing 3 heavy balls at her back, while he struggled to carry one. He then realized that Suzu was stronger than him. Suddenly, there was an earthquake, and everywhere started shaking. Suzu was scared because she hated earthquakes, so she quickly ran away with Akuto. It was time to bath and Suzu went to the bathroom. She wondered why Akuto didn't join her in the bath, so she stripped off her cloth and screamed. Akuto heard her scream and quickly went to check on her in the bathroom. Suzu told him the bath was empty. Akuto went to Rin to ask for help and Rin helped him to get water in the tank. Akuto helped the girls to cut firewood. Machai said she will help Akuto massage his body from head to his toe. She also ordered Anne to be in charge of heating water. They set the fire hood under the tank of water to allow the water to heat, and they were all happy to see the water get heated. The girls took their bath in the water, and Akuto tried to regulate the fire under the heated water. The girls wondered how they would survive without bathe because the bath gets empty day by day. Akuto advised that they should not bathe every day, and that they can just use a wet towel to wipe their body, or better still go bath in the seawater. The girls go angry at him for giving such advice. They wonder how disgusting it would be when they don't wash away their sweat. Akuto realized it was appropriate for him to have commented from a man's perspective. The girls came together to ponder on getting a solution about the bath. Akuto also thought of finding a solution to the bath issue. He knew bathing for girls is so important, so he decided to fix the problem. He left home early in the morning to search for hot spring water before Suzu woke up. He went up the hill where the source of hot spring water came from. Unfortunately, he could not get there. He even slipped and fell from the hill, but Yokium came to his rescue. He promised her that the hot spring water will be ready before night falls. Rin and Suzu still went on thinking of how to get their bathe, so they saw Akuto and Nikumo where they were standing. They all went to where the well, and they realized a huge clump of dirt is stuck in the hot spring. Akuto and Suzu went into the well to pack the sand blocking the hot spring water. They both digged the well so hard, but could not find water. Suddenly, an earthquake occurred and the floor was divided. Akito and Suzu fell into it and landed below the ground. Akito backed Suzu and they both tried to find an exit route. They got the route, but they wondered how to get out of it. He found the rock that was obstructing the spring water and he tried to break it. After so many trials, the rock was broken and the water gushed out. A flood occurred which almost carried Suzu away. Akito tried so hard to rescue her finally. They were saved and the bathing problem was resolved. Suzu scolded Akito for trying to injure himself while saving her. Akito told her he was only doing the man duty and that a man is supposed to protect a woman, and Suzu felt happy about it. Akito and Suzu went to the southern forest. It was Akito's first time being to the forest, but Suzu went there frequently when she was young. Suzu told Akito that she was going to officially introduce him to her master. Akito wondered what sort of master was Suzu going to introduce him to. She told him it was Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu, who she had a lot of training with when she was young. Akito asked if Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu was a martial arts master. However, Suzu master was the Lord of the South. Akito was scared to hear that he was meeting with a lord who looks terrifying. Suzu asked Akito what was wrong. Akito told Suzu he had a bad feeling. Suddenly, Suzu heard the voice of her master. Akito was surprised to see how little Suzu's master was. Suzu then introduced her master to Akito, who had lived for more than 100, who is also the king of the cats. He is talented in transformation and all martial art. He is indeed an incredible cat. Akito wondered how a cat could live for more than 100 years, so he felt Suzu was lying about that. The cat got angry. Akito saw his reaction and he quickly accepted that what Suzu said was all true. Suzu master called Suzu and Akito for a reason, which was to celebrate an important anniversary. It was the day of a survival game. The majority of the population that lives in the southern forest are from the cat and dog tribes. Every year, both tribes fight for the title of the Lord. Akito asked if Lord was the most powerful, boss-like creature in that area. Moreover, the Lord of the East is the terrifying panda that Akito met back then, which means they are lords for the North and West as well. Suzu also told him that there was also a Lord of the Sea and Great Lord of the entire Island. Akito asked if it was right to use a game to decide such important titles, though it has been the southern tradition for over 100 years now. The cat asked if Akito and Tonkatsu would participate in the game as part of the cat team because the power of the dog tribe seemed to have increased recently and the cat tribe needed more manpower. The cat tribe seemed to count on Akito. Akito accepted and he promised to do his best if he would be participating. The game started between the cat team and the dog team. Each team tried to buckle up to win the game. The signal was given and both teams started the competition. Suzu and Akito ran through a place filled with banana pills made them fall when they were running. They continued the race against their opponents while they were running. Suzu noticed they could not find Tonkatsu. They wondered if he has been captured, but fortunately, Tonkatsu showed up and joined them. Suzu brought out food to eat. Akito wondered how she could still eat during an important fight. Suzu told him that an army matched on its stomach. She could only eat to get the strength to continue the fight. So funny. Akito reminded her that they didn't have more time to waste. Suzu commended how hard the dogs were trying to win the competition. Anyway, it was not time for Suzu to do that. All of a sudden, Suzu and Akito was surrounded by dogs and Suzu's eyes was getting blurry, and Akito whispered to Suzu's ear to place the brush under the dog's feet, which they both did, and they were able to stop the dog. Akito and Suzu saw the doe leader. He told Suzu and Akito they couldn't win against them. Akito hated to hear the word impossible, so he went ahead to show that it was possible. Akito and Suzu bumped into Anne and Machai while they were in the competition. Suzu and Anne decided to fight each other while Machai and Akito were both opponents. Machai told Akito she would do anything with him if the dogs should win the competition, and that if the cat win, Akito should do anything with her. Akito was not ready to lose to his opponent even if it was Machai. They all went ahead to fight each other. The dogs and the cat too faced each other to fight. Akito decided to show Machai the kenjutsu skills his grandpa taught him. Unfortunately, the dog team won and they were happy. All of a sudden, the cat team leader attacked the dog team leader and he defeated him. Akito realized that the cat was disguised as Tonkatsu. The cat told him to fool his enemy. You must fool your allies first, and what a smart move. Eventually, the cat team won the competition. Akito was surprised to see the cat and dog get along well with each other after the battle was over. Anne felt bad that she lost to Suzu again. Akito and Suzu were happy to receive Tonkatsu back again. Akito checked well to confirm if it was the real Tonkatsu that came back. Fortunately, it was the real one, and they all headed back home to have dinner. Machai made Anne prepare dinner as a punishment for losing. Anne shouted at Machai to help her out with cooking, but she refused. When they were sleeping at night, Akito felt a strange pressure on his body. It was as if something was pressing down on him. All of a sudden, he woke up to see Machai kneeling on his body. Machai had been waiting for Akito to wake up an hour ago. Machai told Akito to let them go in search of the cherry blossom. It had been a while since the girls went in search of cherry blossoms. so they all went together to search for it. They remembered how delicious it was to eat under a sakura's tree and how elegant the sakura petals dancing was too. Akito wondered if the sakura tree was blooming. The sakura's tree was located in the northern forest. Suzu described how beautiful the tree was and was happy to take Akito there. They all got to the entrance of the northern forest, then decided to split into a small group because they had to go past the northern forest if they wanted to see the sakura blossoms. The lord of the sakura forest is known for his nasty temper and other not to attract his attention. They have to split into small groups unfortunately. Machai and Akito was in the same group. While they were going, Akito screamed because he was afraid of the heights. Machai told him not to scream so as not to attract the attention of the lord. She noticed Akito was afraid of heights. Akito asked if there were any other ways. Unfortunately, it is the same way whichever way he tries to go. Rin and her group also went up the hills. Ikuno was happy she was not in Inigo's group. She knew Machai would always love to choose the most dangerous part. Chikage was worried about Akito being with Machai. Rin told her Machai wouldn't make advances on Akito. Chikage didn't believe so because she knew Machai passed a marriageable age some times ago and she has been worried about it all the time and she might already lose control because of the concern about her age. Rin said it was impossible. All of a sudden Chikage fell to the ground. Rin quickly asked her if it was spasms from a chronic disease or an athlete's foot. Yumiko asked if she ate anything strange again, but she could not answer any of the question they asked her. Anne and Suzu kept running to where the sakura's tree was. Suzu told her not to rush so that the lord would not hear them running. Anne told Suzu they had to run past where they were before they were discovered. While they were running, Suzu tripped and fell on the ground. Anne was happy that she didn't fall when Suzu fell, not to see that the big bear coming behind Suzu fell and rolled on the floor unfortunately. He rolled and hit Anne and she also fell. Akito was amazed to have gotten so far to the top, but he wondered how they would be able to get down from the top, and if they did not get down, they wouldn't be able to proceed further. After all, they managed to get halfway, but they bumped into the Lord of North and they were afraid. The Word of North told them he was defeated a few days ago, so he has given up his position and as of now he is not referred to as the Lord of North. He directed them to cross the river and follow the pathway which happens to be closest path to the sakura tree, but he warned them to be careful. Finally, they got there and sat under the tree to eat and be merry. Chikage researched about men. Akito and Suzu went to visit Chikage in her house. Akito was so amazed at the style of the house was Western style, and the only house style he has seen on the island. The house was built for the Westerners who were drifted to the island. Anyway, Akito wondered what Chikage has to show him. They got to Chikage's house and Akito knocked at the door. He heard the voice of a girl. Akito asked Suzu if Chikage had an older or younger sister because the voice he heard did not sound like Chikage's voice. It was Panaka, who came to open the door not knowing he smashed the door on Akito. Panako quickly apologized to Akito. Chikage saw Akito from the window. She planned to observe Akito in so many ways. Panako served Akito and Suzu drink. Suzu introduced Panako Chikage's maid to Akito and Panako apologized for what happened earlier, and Akito accepted the apology. Suzu explained to Akito that Panako is an obliging and kind animal and everyone refers to her as the prettiest lady on the island. Akito imagined how Panako is the prettiest girl on the island. Her cooking is good, which makes her the best on the island. Panako felt embarrassed that she hit Akito to the wall and she continued to apologize again. Suddenly, Chikage appeared to them in the sitting room looking sexy in her outfit. Chikage's appearance gave Akito an emotional arousal. Akito asked what kind of clothes she was wearing. Chikage felt it was not okay and she changed into another outfit. Chikage felt it was her casual outfit for her. Akito asked her again while she was dressed that way. Chikage got the clothes inspiration from the book she read. The book made her understand that such outfit would make Akito happy and she brought all the books. Akito wondered why such books are on the island. It was because sometimes the storm washed things in from the ocean and Chikage saw it and carried it. There are various other objects besides the books. Change hope Akito and Suzu would look at them. She showed them numerous amazing books and they were both amazed. Chikage told them further that all the books from Eren are in her house. Akito wondered the section of books she had could make up a library. Chikage is the most learned person on the island and she teaches everyone too. Chikage also showed Akito the objects that had drifted to the island. The first one was an electric cooker. Akito told them how to operate it and they were amazed. She also showed him another one which was a microwave that is used to warm food. Akito explained how it is being operated to them and they were amazed. Akito wondered why it looked so new and amazing to them. He thought he was the one always amazed ever since he got to the island. Since Chikage and Suzu became surprised at the objects that was drifted to the island, he felt it was a brand new feeling for high. Chikage wondered why the outside world had so improved. Suzu told Akito that they should make use of the object that can cook rice. They wanted to see how it works. Suzu and Chikage were disappointed when they heard that it could be used because the island doesn't have electricity. Chikage asked Akito if it was referring to the electricity that powers street life. Akito told her that most of the modern world appliances work with electricity. Chikage brought more object to show Akito, but unfortunately, they are all garbage because it is not useful without electricity. Chikage realized her house is a house of garbage. It was so sad to hear that because they could not understand the purpose of the objects. Chikage concluded the outside world was amazing if it could make all sorts of appliances. Akito felt they should start going home. Chikage's main objective was to crucially observe Akito, so she insisted they stay over and also make dinner for them. Chikage promised to make mame daifuku for dinner, and Suzu easily agreed to stay over. Chikage quickly went to the kitchen to cook. She thought that cooking food outside the island would satisfy Akito and stop him from going home, but unfortunately the dish were unfamiliar to her. Akito and Suzu were at the dining table waiting for the meals. Akito felt Chikage would probably serve Western food because the house is Western. Suzu didn't understand what Western dishes her. Akito told her that they were food from the West. Akito thought Chikage would be serving them food such as fried prawns, seafood doria, spaghetti, or even curry rice. However, Chikage appeared with the food she prepared: hamburger. She apologized for keeping them waiting. Chikage prepared the meal using the recipe from Akito's homeland. Akito was happy as Chikage served him the food, but unfortunately he was disappointed at the meal because it was different from what Akito eats in his hometown. What the fuck? Chikage opened the next meal she prepared. The next meal was ramen. Akito decided to take his time this time around to eat the food. The next meal was takoyaki. Akito was shocked at how huge it was. Then he realized it was octopus, which was still alive. Akito was not satisfied with the meals, but anyway, he was just happy at Chikage's good intentions. Chikage offered to prepare another meal, and Akito agreed that she make her normal meal. Akito requested for a curry rice, but he remembered it can be on the island. Chikage went ahead to prepare the curry rice, and she served Akito. This time around, Akito was happy and commended that the food was delicious. Chikage and Pakasu were both happy to hear that. Suzu found the food so spicy that she could not eat it. Eventually, she was served her best meal, which was mame daifuku, and she ate it with all joy. Akito and Suzu both ate their meals to their satisfaction, and she decided they should head home. Chikage got angry at her for saying that. Suzu told Chikage she had clothes hung out to dry at home and she has not taken it inside. Chikage could not allow them to go because the real observation was about to start. Chikage took Akito and Suzu into the bathroom. Suzu and Chikage pulled off their cloth to take their bath. Akito quickly ran out of the bathroom. He told them he would take his bath later. After, if the girls must have finished taking their bath. Suzu wondered why Akito always refused to bath with her and how always gets nosebleeds and become exhausted whenever she asked him to bath with her. Chikage planned to investigate various things while scrubbing Akito's back, but she felt there was still time for her to do so. Suzu and Chikage were done taking their bath, so it was time for Akito to take his bath. While Akito was in the bath, Chikage hid under the water so she would be able to observe Akito's body. Akito asked Panako to join him in the bath. Panako agreed and he jumped into the water and landed on Chikage. Panako noticed someone was inside the water and he gave Akito signal. But Akito could not understand the signal. All of a sudden, Akito and Panako saw Chikage stretched her hand out of the water. They were surprised and they quickly came out of the water. Later on, Panako treated Chikage and he apologized to her. Anyway, Akito and Suzu ended up sleeping over at Chikage's house. While they were sleeping, Akito noticed Suzu was angry. He asked if he had wronged her in any way. Suzu told Akito she was angry because Akito didn't allow her to enter the bath with him, but he allowed Panako to bath with him. She assumed what Akito said about girls and guys having separate baths in Akito homeland has all been lies, and that until Akito take his bath with her, Suzu was not going to forgive Akito. But Akito refused. Rin went to take her bath in the river. She noticed someone around the river looking at her, and she saw Tonkatsu, who came to drink water from the river. She felt he was the one she noticed, and all of a sudden Akito appeared telling Tonkatsu they got lost because they were running around. He didn't realize on time that Suzu was taking her to bathe in the river. Akito saw her and he screamed and blood gushed out of his nose. He was surprised at how Rin reacted when he saw her. He felt she was the only one who behaved like a girl by trying to cover her body when she saw Akito. Akito has always wondered that other girls would love to bath with him without feeling embarrassed. But in Rin's case it was different. Rin blew him off the river and he flew away. Rin came back to apologize to him about what happened earlier. She explained to Akito that she does not like people to see her naked and that she feels embarrassed about it. Akito told her it was a normal reaction, and she explained further how women get attracted to her, and whenever she entered the baths, they stare at her and even feel like touching her. Akito wondered how a girl would do that anyway. He knew she was popular with girls and that she is gallant. Rin reacted to the word gallant, but Akito apologized. He never meant it in an odd way though. Rin knew it couldn't be helped due to her job perspective. Rin requested that Akuto come to her workplace to help her if it would be convenient for him tomorrow, and Akuto accepted. Rin thought someone was on the coconut tree, so she kicked the tree and the coconut fell to the ground. Akuto was shocked. He wondered who was on the tree, but he could not find anyone. All of a sudden, Rin's sister Mikito showed up and was all over her. Rin warned her to stop stalking her. Mikito acted that way because she seriously admires Rin. Rin felt disgusted hearing that from her, and she pushed her Mikito on the face. Rin told Mikito to appreciate Akuto because he would be helping her out on her tomorrow's job. Mikito sarcastically appreciated Akuto and still threatened him not to come close to Rin. Akuto arrived home late. Suzu asked why he returned late, and he told her they got lost on their way, and that he ran into Rin, who was able to show him the way home. Suzu saw a bump on Akuto's head and she asked him what happened. Akuto pretended it was nothing and diverted the conversation, telling Suzu he was hungry. While Suzu was preparing the food, Akuto told her that he would be going to help Rin in her workplace tomorrow. Suzu asked if it was because Rin helped Akuto today. Suzu also decided to wake up early tomorrow too. Akuto declined Suzu from following her because he accepted the offer on his own. Akuto told Suzu to stay back at home and do the house chores. Suzu insisted, so Akuto agreed that Suzu should follow her. It was dinner time in Rin's house. Her family and she sat to it at the table, and they all ate the food without leaving a comment. Rin felt so bad because her family didn't know how to appreciate their food. Rin informed her family that Akuto would be coming tomorrow to help her with the house construction. They were delighted to hear that. Anyway, they have been looking for a successor. Rin's grandma told Rin to train Akuto well. Rin felt she was going to be a bride since her grandma mentioned a successor. Rin's mother told Rin to remember to show her talent when working with Akuto tomorrow. Rin's family already started working. When Akuto and Suzu showed up at the construction site, Akuto told Rin she would come with Suzu because she was also free. Rin accepted Suzu because she would be of great help. Rin told Akuto and Suzu they all have to finish the work today, no matter what, because her grandma said it was going to rain. Suzu accepted to do the work, but Akuto was being doubtful of his confidence because he had never done such before. Rin accepted to teach him on how to go about it. Rin's mother Risa came to welcome Akuto, and she introduced herself to him. She also introduced Rin's grandma Ritis to Akuto and other people in the place. Risa told Akuto to make himself comfortable, and that Rin would teach her how to go about the work. Rin's mother Risa quickly told her daughter Rin to try as much to have physical contact with Akuto. Rin told Akuto to let them start with the foundation. They started the work, and Rin taught Akuto how to use a hammer. While they were working, Akuto saw Rin's breasts. He wondered why Rin was wearing a gaping outfit since she said she didn't like people to see her naked. Rin asked Akuto to watch what she was doing. Unfortunately, she hit the hammer on her hand, and Akuto quickly went to her to help her. Mikito was angry when she saw Akuto with Rin, and she threw a big hammer at him. Rin got angry and threw the hammer back at her, but Mikito was able to catch it. Mikito threatened Akuto not to come close to Rin. Suddenly, Akuto started working, and he was fast at nailing the wood and also cutting the wood. The work went fast, and they eventually finished the job. Akuto knew that by the next morning, his body will ache for sure. Rin offered Akuto and Suzu food to eat. She apologized for not being able to prepare something nice. Akuto ate the food and commended it. Rin was happy to hear such. Risa told Akuto that if he should marry Rin, he is going to enjoy more of delicious dishes every day. Risa's family would be eager to welcome Akuto as a son-in-law. Mikito goes angry at the statement her mother made. She carried a big watermelon and chased after Akuto. There was a heavy downpour of rain, and it didn't seem to look like the rain was going to stop. Akuto wondered how they would have worked under these conditions. Suzu told Akuto that it was always an off day when it rained on the island. Suzu wondered if it also happens like that in the other world. Akuto told her that it's not so in the place where he came from. Even if it rains or snows, they don't get a day off from work or school. Suzu was amazed. Akuto told Suzu it happened like that only because they were always busy, but no matter what, if they don't take a break once in a while, they started getting stressed. Akuto made a soup for them to drink. He was sad because he didn't cook it well and it was not as tasty as a soup should be. Suzu drank it and commended it was delicious. The soup had a strange flavor, but she still likes it. She requested that Akuto should make it once in a while. Akuto also drank his one soup. He realized it had a strange flavor truly. Suzu told Akuto how she enjoyed breakfast on a rainy day. Chikage was worried that it was rainy. It turns out that the forecasting machine had failed 2 times. The first machine she made some time ago was a big failure, which was only 20% accurate. She knew if she could predict the weather, it would help the farmers at times like that of the rainy season. So she decided to investigate the habit of a frog. So she wore a swimsuit and went for her investigation. Akuto was sitting down inside. He could not hold it any longer. He remembered back in Japan, he was always either training with grandpa or studying. Akito could not just spend a day doing nothing, which meant that he was bored. Suzu decided to keep his company and told him to play cat's cradle with her. Akito didn't think the game would suit him. Suzu suggested another game called juggling balls or marbles, and she suggested another game called shogi. Akito decided to play shogi and came with her, and he asked if Suzu could play the game. Suzu told Akito not to underestimate her. They both play the game. Yukino was also bored at home, so she played with her beers and they had fun together. They also went ahead to play in the rain. Suzu and Akito continued their game and Suzu won 20 consecutive times. She asked if Akito wanted to continue, but he refused to. Akito commended Suzu for being good at the shogi game. Suzu told Akito that on rainy days, she did play the shogi game with someone. Akito wondered who she plays the game with and she said it was her mother, and Akito felt emotional. Akito wondered how Suzu would have had a lot of memories of playing with her mother. And when her mother was not alive again, Suzu would have been the only one on rainy days, staying in the house all by herself, listening to the sound of the rain. Suzu came to Akito to ask what was wrong with him. Akito said nothing, not knowing he was in deep thought about how she had stayed all alone without anybody with her. Suzu insisted on knowing what was wrong with Akito. And they both stared at each other for long. What a beautiful moment. Suddenly, Rin and the other girls bagged in and scolded Suzu for wanting to approach Akito when nobody was around. Akito wondered how everyone could come to her place despite the heavy rain. The girls all brought a present for Suzu and she prepared lunch for all of them to eat. They also had their bath. After they left, Suzu and Akito sat down outside. Suzu was happy because Akito was with her. The moon appeared and Suzu showed it to Akito and she sang the song her mother used to sing when they saw the moon and told Akito all she said to her about her being a beautiful bride when she get to meet the man of her dream. Akito imagined how beautiful she would look in a wedding gown if they both get married. Suzu wondered why Akito didn't avoid bathing with her. Unlike before, he also refused to take his bath with her. She wondered why he didn't blush or get a nosebleed. I think chemistry is about to begin. Suzu was even surprised that Akito took her to the bath. They bathed together. Akito felt the water was not warm enough, but Suzu told him not to bother since her heart feels warm. Akito lay on the bed, and he noticed Suzu was not on her bed. He quickly stood up to look for her, not to find her in the water tank. Still dreaming about the moment she had with Akito in the bath, Akito told her not to sleep talk and he tried to wake her up and he brought her out of the water. Akito went out, and he bumped into a girl in the bush. She suddenly went to embrace Akito. Akito wondered how she looked like Yukino, and all of a sudden, Yukino appeared and saw her sister lying on Akito. Unfortunately, it was Yukin's mother Kagami. Yukino scolded her mother for jumping on Akito. Kagami asked Akito to come to play with her, but Akito refused because Suzu caught a cold and she was running a fever, so he had to take care of her anyway. He was going to fetch ice for an ice pack. Yukino led him to where he could fetch it. He got there, but unfortunately, they could not find any. Kagami told them that Kuma Kuma and Kamo Kamo already shaved it into ice and they have all ate it just now. Yuniko was angry they ate it all, but one was remaining which had honey on it. Akito decided to collect the one that was left and melt it on his way back home, but it would not work. Yuniko told him they would have to go fetch it from the mountain. Akito asked where the mountain was. It was Mountain Fuji. The tall mountain located in the middle of the island. There was a lot of snow there, and that was where they could fetch a large mountain of snow from and compress it into ice blocks. Akito decided to fetch the snow and take it quickly to Suzu. Yuniko told him it would be tough, but he has to be very careful. Kagami wanted to follow him, but Yuniko refused. Kagami didn't want to be the only one left behind. Yuniko felt her mother will be a burden if she go with them, but then she insisted. They went ahead to search for the ice. It was tough, but Akito could not give up because he knew Suzu needed the ice. Akito could not find Yuniko and Kagami beside him. Suddenly he heard the voice of Yukino. She was inside the mouth of Kamo Kamo because it was so cold and needed a warm place to be. Finally, after all the challenges and obstruction, Akito was able to get the snow and he ran home with it to help Suzu suppress her fever. It was Machai's turn to prepare breakfast, but she didn't prepare the food because her stomach was empty and could not move. Anne ended up making the breakfast for them to eat. Anne asked Machai how long she would continue to skip preparing breakfast. Anne complained that Machai does not do cleanup or do any washing. She reminded Machai of how their mother told them Thar housework was part of training. Anne told Machai that housework is a sense of bride training. She scolded her and told her that even Yukino helps in housework. Even all the girls on the island could do housework. Machai was the only one who is lazy at doing that. Machai felt bad, and she decided to learn it since it was part of a bride training. She went to Chikaj to teach how to cook and do house chores because she knew Chikaj was a great cook. Chikaj agreed to teach her. Chikaj taught Machai how to make several dishes. She brought out all the ingredients and equipment she would need to make the dishes. She scattered the kitchen all in the name of trying to prepare a meal. Meanwhile, she doesn't even know how to prepare anything. She only scattered the kitchen. Chickade was dragged to arrange all she scattered in the kitchen, and Machai took her leave. Machai also went to Rin. She told Rin to teach her how to cook, and she counted on Rin agreed to train her. Anne was taking her bath when she noticed Machai had not yet returned home. Suddenly, Machai showed up beneath the woods. Anne was bathing to tell her she was back. You can't imagine Machai and her violent ways. Machai brought a box for it. She opened it to check, but she could not find the contents of the box. Anne angrily asked her if she had set off to learn cooking. Machai arrived at Rin's house. She asked Machai why she wanted to be a culinary apprentice rather than a carpentry apprentice. Rin gave her words to Machai. She is pretty strict about cooking, so Machai had to prepare herself. Rin started the cooking training for Machai by teaching her how to prepare breakfast. The breakfast they made was a mackerel in miso, tempura, simmered with miso sauce, and tofu miso soup. They made 8 servings of it. They started with the preparations by cutting the fish, and Rin taught Machai how to cut a fish. Akuto got to know that Machai was learning how to cook. Anne told Akuto and Suzu how she could not do anything on her own. Suzu asked how cooking was where Akuto came from. Akuto told her if not for school and gave teaching on how to cook. Some of the teenagers would not know how to cook. Akuto talked of some mothers who cannot cook. They go to shops and order takeout or eat right there. Akuto explained how they can eat in the shops. Not being able to cook is not of great importance. That sounded nice to Anne and Suzu. Suzu told Akuto her mom used to tell her eating was the most important activity for living things and skipping work for convenience is not good. Anne also remembered her mom told her that a bride who is good at cooking will bring happiness to the family. Akuto told them women are meant to work, and where he came from either they have time to cook or not. Suzu added that her mother always told her if you cook for your loved ones you will be blessed, and you will feel fine even when you are tired. Anne explains how she feels bothered when it was her turn to cook. After they were done with their conversion, they were all heading home when Anne saw Machai's message arrow. Anne opened it to read what was in the letter. The content of the letter was that Machai invited Akuto over for dinner in her house. Akira felt she would be showing off her cooking skills, so they decided to honor the invitation. It was already dark. Akuto, Suzu, and Anne decided to go have dinner with Machai. On their way going, they heard her voice that told them not to go, and they were all scared. Fortunately, it was Rin. She came out of the bush holding a stick, and she was looking pale. Rin advised them not to go for the dinner. She told them it will be terrible if they allow Machai prepare meals for them, and she collapsed on the floor. Suddenly, Akuto nearly forgot that Grandma told him to run an errand for so he left. Suzu also followed him. Anne didn't want to be left behind, so she followed them too. Machai forcefully dragged them to her house. She prepared the meal with a different kind of skills, and she served it was just a kind of weird meals, and they were all scared to eat the meal. They all tasted it and started behaving strange. It was Tonkatsu's birthday, and Suzu decided to plan a surprise. So she tried preparing a delicious meal called hiyako, and everyone would come over to celebrate with them. Akuto also remembered his sister's birthday today. He was staring at her picture when Suzu came to tell him to watch over the tofu she was preparing. Akuto quickly hid the picture he was staring at, and Suzu asked what happened. He pretended like nothing was happening, and he went inside. Unfortunately, Suzu saw the picture he was hiding. She wondered what it was. Suzu tried to make a big hiyako as a surprise for Tonkatsu, but she was not getting it. Akuto encouraged her not to give up. Akuto thought of some ideas, so Suzu decided to try again. Anne appeared in Suzu's house with a lot of mame daifuku and decided to give Akuto some of them. Suzu heard Anne brought mame daifuku, and she quickly ran to Anne to collect her share. The mame daifuku was made of wasabi and mustard, which have been substituted for red beans. Suzu declined it, and she said she was not going to eat it. Anne forced her to eat it, but she still refused to eat it. Suzu went to look for Akuto, but she noticed she didn't see Akuto. Suzu took the book he left on the floor, and she saw the picture inside the book. Anne came to tell Suzu that she could be Akuto's lover from where he came from. Suzu wondered how a healthy young man could have a couple of lovers, and explained how two people fall in love and promise to get married in the future. She further explains how the man met with an accident during his journey. He drifted to an island where he met a gorgeous lady. Suzu was already in deep thought. Anne was already having an imaginary scenario about Anne and Suzu. Anne and Suzu finally found Akuto, standing alone on a hill. Anne wondered if Suzu had ever seen Akuto so lonely, and she told him to allow Suzu to remember his love. Suzu went to give her Grandma Tonkatsu's birthday invitation card. Suzu's grandma asked why Suzu was so down. She pretended nothing happened. Anne told Suzu's grandma that Akuto has a lover where he used to live, and that she is much younger and cuter than Suzu. Suzu was burning inside, and she felt pain. Suzu's grandma knew it was appropriate for him to miss home. Well, he may not have a lover, but he could be thinking about his parents and loved ones. Or he could be homesick. Rin felt it was time for her to use her chances. She remembered her mother once told her that she could attack a man when he is vulnerable, so he will instantly fall in love with her. Suzu was trying to prepare a meal, and she was deep in thought. Anne was so prepared in her outfit and was wearing a lot of makeup. Rin wondered why she was doing all of that. Anne asked what Rin she was backing on her back. It happens to be a loads of food. Chickage knew Rin was using food to attract Akuto. Rin also asked Chickage why she was dressed in her outfit. She was also trying to attract Akuto, wearing clothes that he's used to as preparation for an attack. Anne too was wearing a western outfit too, all to attract Akuto. Akuto was still alone looking at the sea in front of him, deep in thought. Suzu went in search of Akuto, and she saw him at the seaside with a boat. Akuto had already made up his mind to go back home. He was already pushing the boat toward the sea too. Suzu quickly ran after him. She knew it was dangerous if he tried to leave, so she went ahead to stop him. Suzu asked why he wanted to leave. Akuto told Suzu that he only wanted to send a letter home. Anne appeared at the scene. She scolded Suzu for doing what she planned. Suzu told her she was not doing so. The girls arrived at the scene and Akuto wondered why they were all dressed up. The girls fight over Akuto and Suzu tried to stop them. Akuto wondered why the girls were all talking about love. Everyone was calm and Suzu told him about the lady picture she saw. Akuto asked if it was the picture of Misaki. Suzu asked if Misaki was the name of his lover, and Akuto told her Misaki was her little sister and that he didn't have a lover. Chickage came to tell Akuto that something had been boiling for a while. He already forgot about it suddenly. Suzu grandma appeared. She was surprised that Akuto knows how to make nigari. Nigari is used to thicken tofu. Akuto learned it from his grandpa. Akuto had been wondering why Suzu failed at making tofu, and suddenly he remembered that his grandpa used to make nigari and he thought Suzu hadn't put tofu thickener into it. The girls told him how serious he looked in his deep thought. Meanwhile, Akuto also wanted to be part in Tonkatsu's birthday celebration as well. Since it had already been decided, Suzu's grandma told them to start making the tofu and everyone agreed to be of help. They went ahead to make the tofu and it came out perfect. Machai added 2 light candles to both sides. Tonkatsu blew off the light and they all clapped for him and celebrated his birthday with him. They all ate and had a lot of fun. After the party, Suzu and Akuto sat down outside the house. Suzu appreciated Akuto, also reminded him of the letter in his hand. Moreover, it was Aikatu's sister's birthday today also. Akuto told Suzu how he promised to take her sister shopping on her birthday and wanted to apologize. That was why he wanted to send the letter. Suzu realized that was what he